Hello and welcome again. We are starting this special live with you guys, waiting for Instagram to start. Thank you for joining, telling your friends about this live, which is going to be 100% English, 100% English. And we are having, or I'm hosting, a very special guest, a native American speaker. A native speaker from South Africa. Just pin the title. There we go. Pinning the title of the live. Welcome everyone. As I said before, this is a very special live in which I will be hosting a native speaker from South Africa. Her name is Mish. She's an English teacher. She is focusing on teaching conversational and business English, and she is here. Hello, Yusuf. Hello, everyone. Save this live. Sure, we will save this live, Muhammad. We are so excited. Thank you so much, Yasin. So happy to see you all, guys. As I said, so this is a very special live in which we will be hosting and interviewing and having a very nice discussion with our friend from South Africa. She's currently living in Spain, and she's teaching English, focusing on conversational English and business English as well. So she's here to help you guys to speak English. So she's here. Let's get her up. Hello. We are ready to get started with this live. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you as well. I think it's
So,
a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, sure. So I've been speaking to the followers here, to the people watching, about you, a little bit about you. I don't know you that much. So this is, as I said, a very special live in which we will be speaking about some English tips. How can we learn English independently? How can we depend on ourselves in order to make use of the resources we have online in order to learn the English language? And of course, you are a great teacher, so I just let you to introduce yourself in some brief words, if you'd like to.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Mish. Well, my name is Michelle, but everyone calls me Mish, and it's easier. So I'm called by Mish, and I am from South Africa originally. I left South Africa when I was 22, and I went traveling around the world. I'm now 30, so I've been traveling for 8 years.
8 years you've been traveling?
Sorry?
For 8 years?
Yes, I have been back to South Africa and then left again, so back and forth, traveling around Asia, around Europe, and around America, the Caribbean. So done a little bit of everything. I'm now settled in Spain, on a tiny island called Mallorca. It's just
Mallorca, right? Yes.
Yeah, just east of Barcelona. Whenever I mention this island to my students, they know it by the Mallorca football team.
Yes, sure. We are in Morocco. Actually, we're not so far from Spain, so we're all familiar with the cities, and not just about football, but everybody is familiar with cities in Spain.
Okay, good. Yes, it's part of the Balearics, which are the 3 islands: Ibiza, Mallorca, and Menorca. And Mallorca is one of the busiest island airports in the world. Obviously not at the moment, but everyone loves to come here because there's beautiful nature, the beaches are incredible, there's shopping, there's beautiful old buildings, old architecture, and a hiking destination as well. So it's really a stunning place to enjoy on holiday, and I'm lucky enough to live here.
That's great. That's great, actually. How is the situation now in Mallorca due to this pandemic? Is it back to normal, or things are still a little bit like?
So it started going back to normal. And in the beginning, people were not following the rules the way they should. So they enforced stricter rules that people are now adhering to. Unfortunately, the cases seem to be going up again. And
Excuse me, there are comments here saying that there's a problem with the voice. I don't know. Can you hear me well, guys? Or the problem is with Mish or with me? Can you hear us pretty well?
I do hear some echo.
Ah, yes.
Let me try put in my earphones,
okay.
My AirPods,
okay.
If that is better from my side. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How about now, guys? Just let us know in the comments. I think it's good now. Seems like we are having some issues with the connection. I don't know with voice is perfect. You can hear me, guys. You can hear me. I think we've lost Mish. Okay. She's left. Let's just get her up again. You can hear me, guys. You can hear me pretty well. I guess there's no problem with me. You can hear my voice.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, that's better. Much better. So much better. Okay.
I can hear myself a bit now.
Yeah, you were telling us about Mallorca and how things are getting back to normal and. Oh.
So the rules have become stricter now that the cases are increasing, and it's a bit scary because we are going into winter.
Yeah.
And apparently in winter time they will increase even more so. So some areas in Mallorca, in Ibiza, and in Menorca are unfortunately locked down. So if there are high cases, they've had to enforce curfews. And unless
people
you have
back to school, yes. Students, are they back to school?
At the moment, I'm actually not sure. I think it depends on the age group. So some they did go back, and I think some age groups have not gone back. I have some friends with children who have been at home for many months with their children, and I think last month they went back. Yeah.
Sure.
What about your country?
Actually, we are back to school, and me personally, I'm going now to school. I'm teaching classes now, but things are still not clear yet. In some cities, schools are stopped, and especially the city of Casablanca, which is the biggest city here in Morocco. Yeah. So no one is allowed to go to school, and all schools are locked. But in other cities, students are going to school with some very strict precaution and very strict things. So I think that we are struggling also, and the number of the cases are up every day, are increasing. So the government here are pretty careful about that. So they are thinking about locking some cities and putting some cities under lockdown. So we're not sure yet. We're back to school, but still things are not clear to us.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult for children going to school because online learning for them is not as easy as for adults. It's difficult for them to focus, and
it's almost impossible especially for very young learners. It's really hard, and I've been to that experience before. I think that students, especially here in Morocco, I don't know about other countries, but distance learning doesn't prove to be a good choice, actually.
I think one-on-one with children can work. I have taught children one-on-one, online, and that works because they can focus. But in a classroom environment, online, it's a little bit difficult for the teacher to be able to see what the children are doing, and they are distracted easily.
Yeah, especially when you have like 15 or 20 students in one group, trying to connect to every one of them. It's nearly impossible to have the job done, actually.
Absolutely.
So, Mish, I would like to start this interview with you telling us about your job as a teacher, as an English teacher, a teacher of English. So, as you told me before, you are focusing on conversational English. What do we mean by conversational English?
Conversational English is really one-on-one spoken English, having a general conversation about different topics so that you can improve your pronunciation and your vocabulary, and of course your grammar as well. But what I find is often students are learning particular grammar in lessons, and they're not practicing in a situational experience. So I like to have a general conversation, choose a specific topic that student has not spoken about, and widen their vocabulary, widen their deeper understanding in English, and push them to think in English more.
Yeah, so this conversational English, I think it's, can you work it with like a group of students, or it just one-to-one?
It is possible, and I'm looking at doing some classes in the future. However, I think undivided attention means you get more chance of speaking directly, having the chance to speak more in the class if it's one-on-one. Because my aim is to ask questions and the student to be speaking, and then for me to be correcting them after and helping them with their vocabulary.
Yeah, so and also you are interested in or focusing on the business English. Is that different from the English we know? Is it like another type of English, business English?
Absolutely. So my focus with that is communication. So business negotiations and also communicating with your colleagues. Sometimes, well, in the 21st century, there's been a shift of globalization. So businesses are working internationally with one another, and some companies have offices in 3, 4, or 5 different countries. And so a lot of their employees need to speak and communicate with their colleagues or their clients in other parts of the world. And of course, as we know, English is that common denominator language. And because of that, you may not understand what your colleague is saying. There may be certain phrasal verbs or idioms that are used. And if you can improve this, your business negotiations will improve, and I think teamwork will improve. You'll be able to communicate better with your colleague.
Yeah, so normally these people who need this business English, I think they're already like intermediate or even advanced in speaking language. They're not like beginners or something.
Not necessarily, although I have come across beginners who would like to in the future be able to work overseas or work in an international company. So they are starting out. So of course, they can learn this business English as well, but it's better to move in the direction of learning the basics of grammar and learning the basics of conversation before moving into the business world of English. Yeah.
Speaking about this, speaking about the basics of English, I usually, and I've received actually some questions here, telling or questions for you, asking me, people, especially beginners here in Morocco, they don't know anything in English, and they just want to start learning the English language the right way. They're asking this question, I think, which is a very general question. How can we start? What is the right, I mean, what I call it, the thing that we can start with, first of all, when we're just like beginners, when we don't know even the basics of the English language?
Okay, so the basics you can learn are, it depends on your language, of course. I focus on intermediate, and in the past I have focused on children learning as a beginner language, which I think is a little bit different. However, depending on your language, I think you should learn the alphabet. You should learn how to introduce yourself, and I think that's really where you start.
Yeah, actually, some people, they know how to introduce themselves, like some words, some vocabulary, they have some vocabulary, but the problem is when they want to look for some resources, or they want to find courses or lessons, they just get confused because there are plenty of choices. And if we take just YouTube, for example, there are like hundreds of materials that we can use. But the problem is that we don't know what to pick and what actually to choose in order to start the right way. Speaking also, I would like to ask you about listening. So people are nowadays are using YouTube for listening. So do you have any specific recommendations or things that you would like to advise people who are using YouTube nowadays in order to improve their listening skills?
Well, I think the best way to do it with YouTube, or to do it with watching maybe on Netflix or some type of series, is to watch a movie or a series in your own language with English subtitles underneath. And then thereafter, once you know the story and you know what's going on, repeat the series, watch it again, or watch the movie again and watch it in English with either English subtitles or your own language subtitles. Then if you can watch it a third time with only English spoken and only English subtitles,
interesting,
from the start to the end, you could have some grip on vocabulary. But I think the best way to do it is to also start with children's stories. So if you can watch some children's stories, YouTube or on Netflix, this is really more simple, the language, and they speak slower, so you'll be able to understand it better.
Yes, English actually, this stories of children, I've been using them with adults, and I've tried to give them like some stories, and they've proven to be like a very good choice for them, because normally the vocabulary are simple, and the structure of the sentences is also simple. So we get to understand. So beginners get to understand the main ideas. So that's it. It's a good thing.
And you enjoy it while you're doing it as well.
Yeah, of course, you enjoy it.
The language. As soon as you put pressure on yourself, it's difficult to retain that information. But when you're enjoying something, you naturally retain it.
And some people, they don't like to read like children's stories. Some adults, they say, well, I don't like that, or I'm not interested in that. What is your advice to them?
That's what I thought. And then sometimes there's something on the TV that I didn't choose, and all of a sudden I'm engaged and I'm enjoying the story. It's amazing what there is out there these days.
Yeah.
So, if you want to improve your English, that's where you kind of should start, and then move on from there. And then choose a series that you like, an adult series. But you can do a bit of both, I guess.
Yeah, it's really actually really important to choose something that you are interested in, because after all, you want to do two things at the same time. You're enjoying, you're having fun, and you're learning at the same time. So this way you won't get bored, and yeah, you will benefit a lot. There is actually a common question that I've been receiving lately, which is that one of pronunciation. How can we improve our pronunciation? It's a really big challenge for people who weren't born in an English-speaking country. So they find it really hard, especially for some sounds. They can't like produce them the correct way. Some people are are good at speaking, are a little bit fluent, but they don't want to speak, or they get shy, or they get confused when they want to speak just because they think or they feel down inside that their accent is not that good, so they can't speak in front of people.
I understand this because I'm learning Spanish, and in the beginning, I was so frightened to speak.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sound stupid. But what people must remember is that we all know that you have a native language, that you can speak in that native language, and everyone is willing to help and try. So it's really important to find that confidence and be excited about the language. It's not important to change your accent. Your accent
Yes.
is who you are. If you speak English in your own country's accent, that's beautiful. That's something special. I don't think you should try to change your accent. However, when it comes to sounds, specific sounds, I had a student earlier, and he's like a role model for those who want to learn English quickly. He couldn't speak English 5 months ago, and he just started 6 hours a day pushing himself to learn, and now his vocabulary, he's got a wide vocabulary. His grammar is about 80%, almost perfect. However, he is struggling with his pronunciation. So I said to him, you should go to YouTube or go and watch one of your series and find 3 sentences. Listen to the sentences, mimic the sentences, speak out loud, speak and record yourself.
Yes.
Then listen back to yourself and hear what you have said and try to improve it. Another way that you can do this, which is not 100% correct, but by using your dictator on your phone. So if you speak into it and it types for you, this can help you notice whether you are saying the word correctly, because if it is typed correctly, then that means you are saying it correctly.
Yeah, really interesting. Actually, mimicking and shadowing and trying to imitate other people's accent is really a good way. But we shouldn't forget that we should be proud of our accent, our native accent. We shouldn't be like ashamed of our accent. Sometimes we pronounce the sound like the R sound. People are mostly struggling with this R sound. And I think that's not a problem. As long as people can understand you, you are understood, you can communicate with other people without any problems, then you're good. There's nothing with that.
People think that I have a foreign accent, but I feel like my accent is quite monotone. I would love to have some foreign, beautiful accent. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's interesting, and I think it's unique to that person.
Yeah, I think that, Miss, you've told me before that you've been to Morocco before.
Yes, but I think I was 8 years old, or between 5 and 8.
Yeah, how was that?
Apparently it was good.
Yeah,
I was too young to remember.
Doing some tourism, or?
Yes, I went with my family. So I believe we went on a cruise liner and we stopped at a few different places, and Morocco was one of them. But I have a friend who went recently in the last few years, and the photos were unbelievable. So it sparked my interest in going again, for sure.
Did you get the chance to speak to some Moroccan people or something?
Probably not. My mother would probably have just held me close by.
Yeah.
She's like this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because why I'm telling you this, because normally people here in Morocco, we are learning English as a second language. We're learning French as a second language, not English. Yeah. But I think that there is more people now are being interested in the English language. More people really trying to learn English. And what I noticed is that the accent of the Moroccan people is much better, I guess, than other Arab countries, like the countries of the Gulf or Egyptians or people here. They have this flexibility. They can like speak different languages. They can pronounce different sounds.
Wow.
Yeah, they can pronounce different sounds.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. Maybe there's something to do with biology or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've been told by an American teacher who has visited Morocco and told me this remark. And my personal remark to my students, I see that some of my students, they speak like native, especially those who have parents practicing with them at home.
Wow.
They come to the class and you just, wow, this is really amazing how these kids.
That's great for you, yeah.
10-year-old kids and 12 years old kids, they can speak like fluently with a American accent or British accent in a good way.
Okay.
Just between quotes.
Yeah. Do you have similar sounds in your language to the English language? Similar sounds?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, but not too much. Yeah, okay. But I think that people in Morocco are able to pronounce the R sound in a correct way. They have this ability, the R sound. It doesn't exist actually as it is in the American version, but it is clear. It is it is near, so it's a little bit close.
It's such an interesting one because I'm learning Spanish now, and in English we don't have that R sound.
Yes.
And in Spanish there is. And
they have it, yeah.
I have that sound because my second language at school was Afrikaans. And in Afrikaans, we have that R sound. So
yes.
From learning it from a very young age.
Is it difficult for you now?
Sorry, is it which?
Is it difficult for you to pronounce the sound, the R sound, the R sound?
No, R.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, we also have this sound, ra, ra, ra. It's similar to the Arabic version.
Okay, yeah. So I think from learning that when I was a child, I now have that sound. So it was easy to use it in Spanish.
Yes. Another question I've received is about grammar. People, and especially beginners, are worrying too much about grammar. And they say, we have vocabulary, some vocabulary that we can use to communicate or something, but the problem is with the grammar. Should we worry too much about grammar when we are beginners at the beginning? Should we start studying grammar with studying vocabulary or something? Or we should forget about grammar until we get some vocabulary and then we start and when we move to grammar?
I don't think you should forget about it completely, but I don't think you should worry about it either. It's important to get the grasp of the language. It's important to be able to communicate whether you are using the correct form of the verb or not, whether you are using the before a word or not. I think the most important thing is to just speak and learn vocabulary before you concentrate too much on the grammar. But don't forget about it entirely. Learning all aspects of the language are important. But if you're worried about your grammar, you're going to forget about why you're actually learning the language in the first place. And you're learning it so that you can communicate effectively, not so that you can be perfect.
Yes, sure. The grammar. Yeah, I think that I usually tend to advise my student to forget about grammar a little bit when we are beginners, just at the first steps, because sometimes it can be confusing to go back to some grammatical rules and then speak. I have students who worry too much about grammar to the extent that they stop speaking in order to check grammar and then go back and which is really a big problem. Yeah. So my advice, actually, go and speak. Just speak. Even if you make a grammar mistake, that's not a problem because everyone will make mistakes. We're not native speakers, so it's okay that we make mistakes.
Agreed. I think with Spanish, I am learning the present tense first, so that
Yes.
I understand the present tense. And then once I feel comfortable in the present tense, I will move to the past tense and start practicing that. And I think that's a good way to do it as well.
Yes. Speaking about vocabulary, is there any some practical ways which we can use to learn vocabulary like in an effective way? Like write them down, or should we just memorize them by heart, or learn them by heart, or just what should we do exactly? Something practical?
So a lot of teachers say that you should not learn words individually. And I think if you're learning at all and you're putting time into learning vocabulary, however you're doing it is a good way. But the most efficient and effective way, in my opinion, is to learn a word. So learn a noun, for example, ball. And then learn the verbs that are associated with a ball. I catch the ball. I throw the ball. I roll the ball.
Yeah.
Another example is a cat. The cat can jump. The cat can play. I can stroke the cat. I can play with the cat. It's better to learn phrases than to learn individual words. But of course, it's up to you and how you feel most comfortable. Yeah, that's pretty much the way that I would go with it. The other thing is that not all phrases are directly translated from your native language. For instance, in Spanish, it's yo tengo 30 años. I have 30 years. But in English, we say, I am 30 years
Yeah,
old.
it's the same thing, by the way. It's the same thing for Moroccan, for Arabic. Say, indeed, I have. But in English, say, I am 12 years old. And students tend to make this mistake a lot.
Yeah. I mean, of course, an English person is going to understand what you're saying. And that's good because you can communicate. But in order to improve, it's good to learn those things, those phrases.
Sure. That's it. Because people, they say, we forget vocabulary. We learn vocabulary. We use them in sentences, but we forget them. Is it the problem with the practice, you think, with practicing those vocabulary?
Absolutely. Once you learn those phrases, you need to start using them.
Yes.
Once you learn it, practice it. Write a little story about it, a paragraph on it. Practice with an English teacher or practice with another English learner. There are many other learners out there, your followers, my followers, that want to practice. They want to just speak. And it doesn't matter who you're speaking with. As long as you are using the vocabulary effectively, you will be able to retain the vocabulary. So you need to be speaking.
Yeah, speaking about practicing and finding a speaking partner is really a hard task for some people, because sometimes you find someone to practice with, but these people are not really serious, or they don't share like the same interest as you do. So you speak to them like for 1 week or 2 weeks, and after that you just lose interest, and there's no speaking after that. There's no practicing after that. How should this speaking partner be? What are the characteristics that should be in this speaking partner?
Well, they need to be committed to learning the language. They need to be reliable. I think those are the two characteristics, really, because if they are committed and they are reliable, you will be speaking with them for a longer period of time, not just ending it after 2 weeks, and they will show up for those times. Unfortunately, most of the time, this is the best way to do it in a free manner without having to pay. Of course, there are lots of platforms and there are lots of English teachers that you can speak to as well if you're willing to pay. And these days, there are some apps out there that allow people to connect from all over the world, and they're
Yes.
free.
Yeah. Can you tell us some names of some apps or?
There's one called Hello. I think it's HALO.
Yeah, HALO.
There's another one called Lingby,
Yeah.
LINGBY.
Yes.
Those are the two I know of. Another
Mm-hmm.
that I've been using, however, it is paid, but it's not expensive at all, is Cambly.
Cambly, yeah. That's the best. It's the best one actually.
It's also very good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. People there
So
are interested, are serious, and so yeah. So I think that finding a speaking partner is really a good step towards improving English speaking skills. I would like to speak about another problem which most students face is writing, and I know many students who are very good, like near fluent when they speak, but when it comes to writing, they just get blocked. They don't have a writing style, or just they don't know how to write at all. What is the problem here? People can speak, but when it comes to writing, they have poor writing skills.
So they obviously don't have practice once again. So they should be reading because you see, in my learning ability with Spanish, I learned first the writing and the reading part. So when I speak, I think about the spelling of words. I think about how it is written.
Yes.
So if you haven't learned that way, of course, you will be blank when looking at a piece of paper. There's another website I like to use with my students. It's called engu.com, and it has current news, things that are happening in the world today, last week. And here you can read articles, you can practice vocabulary, and by reading the articles, you will pick up on the spelling of words. And I think the best way, if you want to practice your writing, is to read the questions and start answering the questions writing.
Yeah.
I
Good way.
focus on speaking, so I'm not 100% sure about this, but this is my opinion on what I would do. What do you do with writing to improve?
Yeah, sure. So practicing is a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is now I think that that everyone wants to speak English, but some people are asking this question about what should we follow, the American accent or the British accent? Which one is better? I usually get this question. What do you think about that? American, British?
This
Is there a
goes back
difference?
to accents. This goes back to
Should we worry about?
accents again.
Yeah.
You know, if you plan to move to the UK, or your clients in business are British clients, then maybe it's better for you to learn the British pronunciation. But
Yes.
if you are planning to move to America and your clients are American, then it's probably better to use the American pronunciation. But they are very similar. And I think that if you can practice with both American learners and English accent learners, either or there's no difference really. You can't say one is better than the other. They're just a little
Yes.
bit different.
Sure. Yeah, every language is good. So we can't compare actually languages. We can't say that this language is the best in the world. So another question is, uh, someone is asking, when I speak, I have this problem of translating in my head. I can't get rid of it. When I speak, I just compare the English phrases and sentences and try to take them from Arabic. So how can I solve this problem? I think in Arabic and then I speak in English. So I find this problem like I have 20 years old or something.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
can I stop
That
translating?
that will happen when you're a beginner. And the more and more you practice, the more you become comfortable with the language, the more you speak about the same topics, the more you introduce yourself, it will start to come naturally. An amazing thing that some of my students have done is my younger students, after studying, they have forced themselves to go and live in a native English speaking country for 6 months. And they're forced to just speak the language wherever they go. And of course, some of us don't have this opportunity, but this is also a wonderful way to just get yourself thinking in the language. But I think with time, if you are consistent every day, and you are learning vocabulary effectively with the phrases attached, you will become more comfortable, and you will start to think in English.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So this question here is for people who are interested in studying English and at the same time studying another languages at the same time, because they don't have time to wait until they get like a good English and then they move. People here in Morocco, they ask me, we want to study French and English at the same time. Is that possible? Would you advise us to do this, or?
Of course, it's possible.
At the same time?
I think
because English, you know, English and French, they share, like, they are very close, especially in spelling, and some vocabulary are the same. There's just difference in pronunciation, so it's really confusing sometimes.
Yes, I am not sure I would have the time to learn 2 languages. And if you have the time, then of course it is possible. Differentiating between the 2 is very difficult. My boyfriend is English, Portuguese, and Spanish. None of them are his native language. However, he is proficient in all 3. And he still gets confused between certain words in Portuguese that he's saying in Spanish. But once again, anything is possible. So if you want to learn 2 languages, go for it. If you have the time for it, go for it. In fact, just throwing yourself into the languages may help you learn one or the other at the same time.
Yeah, sure. So learning 2 languages can be a hard task, but why not? If you have the time, and some people here are telling me that there is a problem with your voice. I don't know what's. Can you?
That's strange.
Strange, actually. Because even the image is a little bit blurry. It doesn't look.
Yours is a little bit. It's lagging a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what's the problem. In choice, guys, if you have some questions, drop them in the comments, so that Mish is here. Mish and me, we will have some time to answer your questions. Do you have something to add, Mish? Something you want to say?
Yeah, we spoke about the importance of English before. Can you tell me a little bit about why you think English is so important and why so many learners are wanting to learn English these days?
Yeah, well, this is actually happening now, and it is reality that people are more interested in English. Why? Because all over the world, there are people speaking English. And if you visit any country now, you'll find people speaking English there. So it's like English is the only language. It's like a key that you can use wherever you go. I mean, if you go to Asia, if you don't know how to speak their language, you can use English to communicate with them. So it's like a solution everywhere you go, especially for people who travels a lot. So, and in addition, English now is widely used, especially for students who are doing research at the university. They are being interested in English because when they try to make some research on the internet, most of the resources they found, be it in physics or mathematics or any discipline, they find all the resources in English. So they're like more interested in that language in order to improve their studies. In addition, English is used a lot, as you can see in the media. it is used. So more movies are being produced in English, more TV series are being produced in English. The good music is in English, everywhere. Even some foreign or some Asian or Arabic singers who wants to get famous, they just include English in order to have their music heard by everyone. So
brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think now, also in Europe, I don't know if that's the case for Europe, for Spain and Italy and the other countries, they are really interested in studying languages, in studying the English language. Is that right?
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
the 21st century, there's been this rise of globalization. And of course, in the business field, it's really important if you are speaking to someone on the other side of the world in your company, but in a different office, it's important that you have a common language to speak and to understand one another. And people want to widen their opportunities. They want to be able to possibly move or possibly get a better job. And in order to do this, sometimes it's important to have English in these sorts of companies. Also, some industries like tourism or aviation, you need English because tourists, the common denominator again, is English when a tourist comes to your country. With aviation, the most important thing is communication. If something is communicated in a wrong way, it might have disastrous effects.
Yes.
Yeah, and simply if you just want to go and travel to another country and be able to ask some questions and have a smooth experience, it's nice to be able to understand English.
Yes, sure. So I think that would be it. Thank you so much, Mish, for this time you have given the followers here. And this is like an invitation to all of you. Go and visit Mish's page. She has like some really good content from which you can benefit, and you can get some new vocabulary and some tips and stuff like that. She's making videos, so go and follow her. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to me to have you in this live.
You too. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. And
Cheers.
guys, don't forget that goodbye. Guys, don't forget that this live will be saved on my page. If you want to go and rewatch it again, it is saved. Thank you so much for watching, for your engagement, for your questions, and I'll see you again in another live with another guest. Thank you.